Have you ever been in a situation where you're about to go home but found yourself going the same direction as that one other friend that you're not that close with? If you are a true unconfident and awkward introvert, the first thing that came to your mind would be to find an excuse to not go the same direction, or at least shorten the time you guys spend together during the travel. If this is you, continue watching as I have some tips to share on how I was able to stop being awkward, appear confident, and many more. For those of you that are wondering, why would such awkward introverts do such a thing to a friend? Well, to save themselves and their friend from the awkwardness. As introverts, we love to spend time alone and do things that we love on our own. We don't spend as much time socializing with others, and as a result, our lack of social skills made us awkward individuals. If we are in a group setting, it's not as bad, as we can simply let our friends do most of the talking while we simply listen. But in a one-on-one situation, especially with someone that we are not that close with, we became stressed with questions like, what should we talk about? Is he or she feeling awkward? Am I boring? And the list goes on. Such situations doesn't just make it awkward and uncomfortable, but also exposes our inability to carry a conversation, or in other words, socialize. In order to avoid all of that, we rather find an excuse to not be in that situation in the first place. To not just appear confident, but actually feel like one too, is to realize one thing. During a one-on-one situation, we place too much responsibility on ourselves. We feel that we are solely responsible for the whole conversation, and if things turned out awkwardly, it's all entirely our fault, resulting in us becoming more awkward in future scenarios. The truth is, it's not. A conversation is like playing table tennis. As much as one party asks the questions, the other party should also return the ball and ask another question after answering. It is not supposed to be a one-sided conversation, otherwise it will be called an interrogation. What this means is, if you ask some questions to start a conversation and your friend doesn't return the ball by asking another question after answering yours, it is not your fault if the atmosphere becomes silent and awkward. In this case, it's your friend that's being awkward, thus creating this atmosphere. By realizing this, you realize that there's no need to be so stressed out about constantly needing to find topics to talk about to avoid that awkward atmosphere, which will inevitably make you look awkward if you say the wrong thing simply because you want to avoid things going silent. Sometimes, the hardest thing to do can be the solution that you have been trying to avoid. In such a scenario, not saying anything if you have nothing to say can be a key to looking confident to the other person. What makes a person awkward and seem unconfident is their constant worry about what the other person thinks. Thus, they try to do things to please them, but more oftentimes, it backfires, and you have earned yourself the title of being an awkward individual. A confident person doesn't worry about what other people think of them. They are comfortable with themselves and thrive in situations that other people find unbearable. And in this scenario, silence. If there's nothing to talk about, just don't talk. It's as simple as that. Just enjoy the silence and relax. When you react this way, one interesting thing will happen. The other person will start to feel pressure to think of topics to talk about to eliminate the silence, as they don't want to seem like the awkward one with no social skills. With that, you can easily seem like the confident one, while not feeling pressured to be the one thinking about topics to talk about. But what if the other person also has nothing to talk about, and they don't seem to be pressured to think of topics to talk about? Well, it's okay. As mentioned before, a confident person doesn't care about what others think, and they can simply enjoy the silence. You don't always have to have things to talk about. Sometimes, it's good to just relax and listen to the background. Your friend may even appreciate a silent travel if that's their thing. I may have been sharing this one social setting of traveling alone with a friend all these times, but it works in all social settings. Whether you are going out with a friend alone, going on a date, or at a social function with one other person, it's usable anywhere. Just don't say anything if you really have nothing to say, and don't be pressured to say something to eliminate the silence to avoid accidental awkward responses. If you just stay silent and tell yourself to not feel nervous, you will start noticing many things. Pay attention to the other person's body language, facial expression, hand gestures, and you can start to tell what the other person is thinking. Are they becoming awkward, nervous, jittery, or pressured? Turns out you are not the only one that's being awkward and nervous, and it's going to give you that later confidence boost. At this point, you can return the favor and make them feel comfortable, and naturally, the conversation will flow. Another thing you can do to look confident to others is eye contact. Eye contact is the surefire way to tell if another person is confident or not. If you're constantly looking elsewhere other than the other person's eye, it shows your lack of confidence, and probably reveals your lack of experience with social encounters. Practice looking in the mirror and straight into your own eyes. Practice it with your family members and close friends. I'm sure when you are talking to them, you won't dart your eyes around and you'll be able to have great eye contact with them. As time goes by, it will become easier. However, one thing to note is to not stare. Having great eye contact is also knowing when to break away. I'm sure you won't like it if someone is constantly staring at you. Here's one tip. A good time to break away eye contact is after the other person looks away first. If you follow this tip, you ensure you have a long enough eye contact with them to look confident, but also not too long to seem like you are staring at them. The next tip that I have for you to being confident when socializing with others is to be aware of your body language. You can be as anxious as you want, but if your body language doesn't show it, no one will be able to tell that you are nervous or being awkward socially. All you need to do is to practice good posture. Avoid hunching your back, looking down, or darting your eyes around weirdly. A good practice is to maintain good posture every time, whether you are queuing for food, traveling, walking, or talking to people. Once you develop the habit, it becomes second nature, and you won't have to actually think about it when socializing with others. As the saying goes, fake it till you make it. You can fake your confidence by disguising your social anxiety with good body language, and sooner or later, it will no longer be fake anymore. There are many other tips that can help you to become more confident when socializing with others, especially if you are an awkward introvert. Whether it be body language or conversational skills, the most important thing that you should learn to ingrain in yourself first is your mindset. You have to understand that confidence isn't something elusive that only a select few can have. For us awkward introverts, it's something that stems from being tired of constantly being socially anxious, afraid of being judged, and a hunger for change. The very first step that you decide to take is confidence in itself. There's nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be anxious about, and if you are able to overcome this mindset that's holding you back, there's literally nothing to stop you from being that confident man or woman that everyone looks up to.